The ACC almost unanimously supports doubling the size of the college football playoff, even though their TV partner is against it.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
He's Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. I'm Alex Dono from Locked On Canes. And on this episode of Locked On ACC, the ACC features one of the best quote-unquote revenge games in college football for the upcoming season. But I will admit, I think when it comes to revenge games, the SEC probably has us beat for a certain matchup. There's a lot going around these ACC spring meetings, including a possible new formula to change the face of spring football. And I think this could be a good thing, but I want to pick Kenton's brain on it because he actually played college football at NC State, so what this new calendar could look like. Meanwhile, Kenton, we've talked about this so much because it's been a big topic for the last couple of months. The overwhelming support now for doubling the size of the college football playoff. The ACC is apparently for it almost unanimously. The Big 12 has come out in support of it. The Big 10 is all over it. Right now, like the lone out of the Power 4 conferences, only the SEC is against it, and we'll tell you why they're against it in a moment. But the other interesting revelation that came out today is ESPN, who holds the college football playoff TV rights, they are against it. Now, Kenton, when I first saw that ESPN was against it, I'm kind of thinking, wait, why would they be against it? But then we found out there's a pretty simple reason why ESPN does not want the playoff to get bigger.
Yeah, I look at this, and obviously we know that the money is the driver of everything, but we did not know the extent of the exact, the allegiances are being formed literally basically off who makes money and who doesn't. That's right. Literally exactly what's happening in this moment. So, Dono, the more you look into this, it's like Pusha T said, it's going to be a surgical summer. We're going to peel this thing back layer by layer. And let me tell you, myself and Alex Dono, mainly Alex Dono, have been doing the knowledge all day on what's going on. Dono, let the people know what's good and who opposes and who doesn't oppose and just why.
Yeah, and I give credit to Sam Newman, a writer from Yahoo Sports on their sports business section, because he laid it out in simple terms. And Kenton and I, we both knew that, money is the reason why some are for the expansion, some are against. We just didn't know the extent of this web of money. So no final decisions on expansion are expected soon, they write in Yahoo Sports. But that hasn't stopped stakeholders from making their preferences known. Jim Phillips's comments put a public face on what Yahoo Sports reported last month, that ESPN executives had privately dismissed the 2014 format. ESPN holds exclusive broadcast rights to the college football playoff, but here's the catch. ESPN holds exclusive rights up to 14 teams. So if they make it 16, if they make it 24, beyond 14 teams, additional playoff games go to the open market, which is exactly why the network, ESPN, would very much prefer to keep the entire postseason for itself. So that explains why ESPN is against it. Now, as far as why the ACC would be for it, despite the fact that their TV partner is not, we can explain that on, you have trouble putting multiple teams in the college football playoff already if you're the ACC. If you double it, it gives you, more irons in the fire, more opportunity to get teams in, even if your TV partner is against it. But Kenton, this also explains why the Big 10, who actually is aligned with their TV partner, why the Big 10 are the ones that started pushing this proposal to make it 24. Because if you expand it to 24 teams and 10 games hit the open market, you better believe Fox, who's the TV partner for the Big 10, is going to be the big player in getting most, if not all, of those extra games, which would get Fox, who obviously is a really powerful player here when it comes to college football broadcasting. But at this moment, Fox doesn't have any college football games beyond Thanksgiving weekend. They don't have bowl games. They don't have any college football playoff games. ESPN controls that. So if you expand that CFP to 24, maybe almost half of that ends up on Fox, where the Big Ten benefits from that on the back end because of their TV deal. So this, to me, it really it threads some of these needles that we didn't understand why, certain players were rooting for different things. I think now we get it.
Dono, the Fox angle is one thing, but I think it's worse than that in terms of ESPN. Because if Fox was the only competition, you got to outbid one person or one corporation. Amazon could get in the mix.
That's a good point. Oh, man.
They've already got NBA playoff games. They've already got NFL games. College football is the only.
They got Duke basketball games coming soon.
The college basketball is what they got, but let's be real, right? Jeff Bezos and his greed know no limits. It literally knows no limits. It started off as a book company, and now you can't even go on to any websites without using their products. So,
that's right.
What does this mean? Now, you're not just standing there looking at Fox saying, all right, we can beat you. I know we can beat Murdoch money. We can do that. Now you got to say, I can beat Murdoch money and I can beat Bezos money. And mind you, this ain't just any football game. This is college football playoff games. Even if you're talking about, for the most part, it's not really the major players that are going to be in any potential game that could be out. You're still talking about big-time college football. Even if you're talking about you've got your group of 5 team and whatever team barely clung in to get in out of the Power 4, guess what? You're still looking at, let's say, a Tulane versus Iowa. Let's say you're still looking at a Washington versus Louisiana Lafayette. You're still looking at a FAU versus somebody along those lines, somebody of that, like a Mississippi State or something like that. That is still enough to have people like, well, damn it, I'm gonna watch that. Which means that's a ton of money in ad revenue. Yeah. This thing, man, I'm telling you, is so loaded. You got to pull this thing back layer by layer, or you're gonna miss a layer, because it's just all these complex workings. And of course, all of it ends and begins with money, but it's still so much complexity of, well, below 14 is still ours. Well, if we go to 16, it's one game going. But if you go to 24, now you got 5 or 6 games going. And what's happening with this and that? It's so much to keep up with.
By the way, there's one more layer to the onion that I haven't even peeled yet, right? Because, so remember, there's one power conference that is against expansion, that wants to keep it small-ish, right? Wants to keep it 12, and that's the SEC. Now, you and I were wondering earlier this week, like, why does the SEC want to keep it at 12? So here's the deal, at least the way that Yahoo explained it. We know that if they expand to 24, conference championship games are killed. They're done, right? Now, obviously, I'm sure every conference makes some money from their conference championship game, but they don't make $80 million except the SEC. The SEC's conference championship game is worth an estimated $80 million. So Greg Sankey and his staff, I'm sure, crunched the numbers and said, you know what, we already get, more teams into the CFP than most as it is, and our conference championship game is by far more valuable to us than any of the others are to them. So I'm sure they ran the numbers and said it's not financially worth it for us to trade in the SEC championship game for, additional playoff spots. So that seems to be the primary reason why the SEC is the only conference that is against going to 24. Now, I don't think I've ever said this on this show before. I've maybe never said it out loud before, but I actually agree with the SEC. Now, not for their reasoning. Like they're thinking of a good thing for the wrong reasons, but I'm actually with the SEC. I'm perfectly happy with 12. Let's keep it at 12.
It's that meme of one person pulling the rope and then another person on the other side, and then the person on your side, somebody joins in, and it's like somebody that you would think you would never be on the same side as. But this rope creates strange bedfellows. I'm gonna tell you something.
It's like another meme that says the worst person just made a
great point. See, do we have Alex Donald here today, or do we have Detective Benoit Blanc? Because I'm telling you, He's on it right now. He's working the sleuth game in a way that you haven't seen. $80 million. $80 million will be sacrificed here. And like Dono said, how many teams already get in? But let's take it a step further. Were people not arguing for a Texas team that was very mid last year to get in?
Yeah, they were.
Were people not sitting there, oh, how do you leave Texas out? They beat Texas A&M, and so what that they don't have any other good wins? They've got Arch Manning. They got so much. I'm telling you, Dono, they know we're going to get these teams in regardless if we expand to 16. But if you go to 24, now we lose $80 million to recoup some of that money. And let's go a little bit deeper. The ACC is the reason that the SEC is going to oppose it, because the ACC did something that no other conference could possibly imagine. The Success Initiative. How much money from their playoff run did Miami have to give to the ACC?
None. They got to keep it all.
You don't think Georgia's going to look around and say, now wait a damn minute, why don't we have that deal? You don't think Texas, Bama, Florida, you don't think none of them are going to say, wait, hold on. How did Florida State and Miami end up keeping all their playoff funds, but we got to give it away? So now, for the time being, in the short term, you'll still get that playoff revenue. But they know that $80 million this year, probably going to be $90 million next year, probably going to be 110 to 122 years, probably going to be 130. And so when you scale it that way, but then you peel back, that's going to go missing, and you're going to likely have to institute the Success Initiative to keep some of your teams from going rogue. You're missing out on hundreds of millions of dollars over the next decade.
Great point. Unbelievable point. Now, there is maybe one person inside the ACC, I'm very proud of him for this, who opposes this expansion idea. So it's not completely unanimous in the ACC. Plus, a proposed change to the spring football calendar. On the surface, I like this, but Kenton Gibbs played this sport at NC State, so I want to get his take on what this sort of a calendar can do for these. Yeah, I guess we're still calling them student athletes, right? We're calling them that still. You want to keep it locked right here. We're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. Your outdoor space should feel like you. It's one of those spots that you keep meaning to fix it up, but you never quite get around to it. That's where Wayfair comes in. They make it easy to find pieces that match the vibe you wanted. I love how easy it is to filter by style and budget on Wayfair's website, so you can find exactly what fits your space. They have everything in one place, from seating to decor, lighting, even outdoor rugs. And with thousands of verified reviews, you feel confident in what you're getting. So now your space actually feels put together, something you want to sit, relax, and spend time in. Get prepped for patio season for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. Folks, if you haven't joined the Everydayer Club yet, no time like the present. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer, and you can join the Everydayer Club for any of your favorite shows on this network, whether that's Locked On ACC, Locked On Wolfpack with Kenton and Grayson, Locked On Canes with me, and you get exclusive ad-free versions of our episodes, Discord chat access with hosts and listeners, other great benefits. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer to join the Everydayer Club today. All right, so Kenton, this situation of expanding to 24 during these ACC spring meetings, which just wrapped up today on Wednesday, it's been described as like virtually unanimous among, ACC administrators that they're supporting this. But I can tell you, and I'm quite proud of this as a Miami guy, Mario Cristobal does not support it. Mario Cristobal has said, I'm not for the 24 team thing. That's a lot. Why play a regular season then? And I'm certainly not for automatic bids, he said. So Cristobal says he supports finishing the season earlier, and then you get one bye week and start games, and do not expand to 24 teams. So, I mean, Mario Cristobal, unfortunately, doesn't really get a vote in this process, but he does not want to see this thing double.
Dono, again, Follow the money. Does Mario Cristobal stand to gain money by an expanded playoff? And not just stand to gain money by way of Miami getting in. I mean, long-term job security. Does it happen by Miami sneaking into the playoff? I would argue no.
Probably not.
I would argue no, right? As opposed to my former head coach, Dave Doran, said, yeah, more access to the playoff is a great thing. Why?
Yeah.
Again, it's the difference. 8 wins a year at Miami, they'll talk about you like a dog. 8 wins a year at NC State, hey, they're going to rename that field after you. It's going to be such and so field at Carter Finley Stadium.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be.
Dave Doran Field at Carter Finley Stadium someday.
And here's the thing. And this is the props and the respect that I give to Doran, not just as the guy that recruited me, but as the coach that he's been at NC State. He is the winningest coach in NC State history in terms of most wins all time, in terms of winning percentage of a coach who was there for over, I believe it's like 7 or 8 years or something like that. He's second or third all time. So he's not tops in that, but he's still near the top. He's not just a ho-hum, piece of nothing there. Dave Doran has the motive to say, hey, this should happen because it keeps him employed. Mario Cristobal, it does not matter. You get in as the last team at Miami 3 years in a row. See what happens. Same thing. Same way Coach Cal said that he wasn't for the NCAA tournament expanding. Why? Coach Cal gains nothing. If Coach Cal is your head coach, you didn't pay him Coach Cal money to barely get in.
And by the way, Dan Hurley is also against expansion, not surprisingly.
Oh, and again, will Dan Hurley keep his job if he goes to the first round and is eliminated 3 years in a row? No.
If he's an 11 seed, like 3 years in a row, no, he's not keeping his job.
My point exactly. However, if you look at some unheralded basketball programs, the Detroit Mercy Titans, they go 3 years as an 11 seed. What the hell they got cooking up there? This is better than we've ever seen. Dusty May when he was at FAU. What they got going on down there? These guys are flying and moving and grooving. That 1 year Florida Gulf Coast made it and was it was something with Duncan was their nickname. The year that
yeah. What was that? They had all those lobs. Was it?
Yeah, it was something with lobbing. But either way you cut or slice it, it was a very different experience because the expectations were different. So when you talk about Mario not being for it, right? You talk about some of these other big time coaches who probably are not going to be for it. They're in that rarefied air where going doesn't, Kenny Dillingham will never get fired at Arizona State. He'll never get fired. Never. Yeah. Never. Somebody's got to come get him. He's got a lifetime deal, basically. Why? Because he went. He took his team. He took Texas he took him to the wire, lost the ball game, but he went. And it's Arizona State. Right. It's Arizona State, so it's a difference. And what their expectation is versus a USC, where even if Lincoln Riley barely gets in this year, maybe, because the CFP is so new, maybe. But if we expand it to 24 and Lincoln Riley barely gets in, man, get your ass out of town. Go on and get out of Dodge. So Mario Cristobal being against this, some people would say he's being a man of principle. I would say he's a man that stands to gain nothing from it expanding.
All right, well, let's talk about this proposal. Ross Dellinger from Yahoo sent out this X post. Here at their annual meetings, ACC coaches received a presentation on proposed changes to spring practice. Coaches would have access to 21 practices that they could spread across several months, giving them flexibility to hold drills in June and more OTA-style July sessions. So here's how this is different. I believe where it currently stands for spring football, you have a window of, I think, 5 weeks, something around that, to hold 15 practices. Mm-hmm. So this would give you a window, like they said, of multiple months to hold 21 practices. So maybe you do like 12 practices in spring, and then you have like a mini camp and an OTA later on. So it's like, okay, from where I sit as a college football fan, Kenton, as someone who didn't play the game like you did, right. I say, hey, like this could be a good thing because, the players aren't like away from your coaching and your program for as long. Now, there are, of course, expectations for off-season workouts, but, the actual head coach and position coaches can't be present at those. Like, that's your strength and conditioning coach runs those, and it's a lot of player-led stuff. But if you have the ability to hold like an OTA and a mini camp, then that gives the coaches extra face time at different periods of time with their players. So I see how that could be a good thing. Do you agree, or is that just giving them too much control over the calendars of these players?
I mean, Dono, we talked about this yesterday, and we're going to keep talking about it. This is the NFLification of college sports.
Yeah.
Let's be very real about this. When all you were investing above board, when all you could out loud talk about you were investing was a college scholarship, right? Let's say out of state, let's say state school, right? Out of state school, you're looking at, depending on the state school, somewhere between 35 and maybe, if you're talking to elites, the Syracuses and Cals of the world, 55, 60, somewhere in there, right?
Yeah.
If that's all you're investing in the kid, you're cool with them going home for the summer. You're cool with them, go do your thing. We trust you to be a big kid and come back in shape and whatnot. What if I told you that now you got to invest 6 figures in a guy? You want a little bit more control over that investment, don't you?
Facts, for sure.
That's all it is. When I bought my first car, I loved that car. I named it Mini. It was a 2003 Mazda 6. That thing was so old. If it was a person, when I bought it, it was the first one they stopped calling the 626. I used to drive that thing like I stole it. Okay, busted head gasket and all. I had to get it downhill like Little Miss Sunshine so it could catch some heat so I could drive it. I used to drive that thing like I stole it. Now I've got a nicer Honda Accord that when I bought it had 14 miles on that thing. So I drive that one a little safer. I drive that one. I'm a little bit more cautious. You see what I'm saying? Not to say that these players are property, not to say that these players are anything like that, but to look at it as an investment, purely from I'm putting this in, therefore, how much am I willing to let you still be a kid, to let you still be a college kid and enjoy college life? Well, I'm sorry to tell you, you're getting grown man money, okay? With all due respect, and this is not to knock anybody, a lot of guys who strictly do what you and I do, Donald, who strictly do this sports media thing, may never in the next decade and a half of work touch the money that Darian Mensah touched in just this year.
Right.
Never. So, you know what I mean? Right. So it creates a different feeling. It creates I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I want to let this young man go and do his thing wherever and all that good stuff. It just creates a very different situation and different time.
Well, and listen, so we've already been talking about, self-interests for various people on this pod. So I will say, for people like you and me who are in the college sports content business, extra practices, it's good for us, right? Absolutely. I before I've, for the last 4 years, I've pretty much exclusively covered college football when it comes to the beat. But I used to cover the NFL, and for years I would go to almost every Miami Dolphins practice as a member of the media. And when I was out there covering OTAs and minicamp and rookie minicamp, fans were dying for that content. And I'm sure college football is going to be no different. Like your NC State everydayers, they're going to want to know what happened in that 3-day OTA. Locked On Canes listeners, same thing. So it's good for us.
I can already hear David Locke on my phone now. Hey, man, we love you. We going to need you to go out there to some of those NC State OTAs, okay?
Oh,
hey, I know the summer used to be y'all time to do 3 episodes a week, but I don't know.
Off season.
I don't know, man. I don't know, So I'm kidding, by the way, David Locke. Don't fire me. I'm joking. But in all seriousness, it is just a moment where, from a content standpoint, it is more. Now, do I look at this and say that's negative for the players? I will say, as a guy who never went home during the summer, I still understand players who do need more family time and all that. So it is a negative from that sense that from Detroit, Michigan, played in Raleigh, North Carolina. It was a very different, I didn't get to go home. It wasn't like home was a couple-hour drive where it's I could stay on campus and then just, kind of, if I leave by breakfast, I'll be there for lunch with my mom. It wasn't that kind of deal. But so I get that. And I do say that, some of these players are going to lose that ability. But also, heavy is the head that wears the crown would be what I say to a player in this instance. Because again, if you talk about a $35,000 NIL deal, that's not of consequence to most teams. If you talk about a $50,000 NIL deal, in terms of Power Four, that's not of serious consequence. If you talk about a $70,000 deal, still not of consequence, right? That's more than the average American makes per year. That's more than the average American makes.
Right.
So it sucks. It is not, necessarily like, oh man, this is easy and I'm not giving up anything. It doesn't work like that though. It doesn't work like that. If you're going to make more money than more people are making on a regular basis, you're going to be expected to give more of your time, to give more of your energy, to commit to showing up to these more events and shaking more hands and kissing more babies and all that stuff. It's part of the deal, unfortunately.
Well, when we come back, the ACC has multiple nominees for biggest revenge games of the season coming up, but I think a certain all SEC affair takes the crown in light of recent events. You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. Workplace chaos. Deadlines are stacking up. Inbox is overflowing. And the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed, sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours just made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of Locked On ACC will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Folks, this is also a job for Rocket Money, because if you've ever opened your bank account and thought, where did all my money go? You're not alone. Keeping track of subscriptions, spending, and bills can get overwhelming fast. But that's where Rocket Money comes in, helping you take control of your finances all in one place. Rocket Money tracks all your subscriptions in one spot, can help you cancel the ones you don't need with just a few taps. It automatically categorizes your spending so you can actually see where your money's going, and you can set budgets, get alerts, and stay on top of upcoming bills. It just makes everything feel more organized and gives you a clearer picture of your finances day to day. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Thank you for making Locked On ACC your first listen. Make sure for your next listen, you check out our other shows. Kenton Gibbs and Grayson Boone talk all things NC State on Locked On Wolfpack. I talk all things Miami on Locked On Canes. All right, so Kenton, my pals Crane and Cone on On3 Sports put out their nominees for top revenge games in college football this upcoming season, and the ACC has a couple of them on the list. Now, that includes Florida State versus Alabama. Now, obviously, on paper, Alabama should whoop the wheels off of Florida State. They were humiliated at Florida State last year. That's a big-time revenge game. Like, Bama doesn't just want to win that game. They want to hurt Florida State in that game. They also, for obvious reasons, put Miami at Notre Dame in there because that last year, Miami won a close one at Hard Rock Stadium. That loss for Notre Dame ultimately kept them out of the playoffs and got Miami into the playoffs. So that's a big revenge game specifically for the Fighting Irish. And Kenton, if you were to ask me, or if you were to present this list to me like a week ago, I would have said, you know what, Miami at Notre Dame, that might be the top of the list right there. But in light of recent events, with Lane Kiffin's Vanity Fair interview and essentially trying to ignite a cultural war between Mississippi and LSU, and everybody's arguing about who's more racist or less racist because of Lane's comment, and he knew what he was doing. Like, for Lane to sit back and be like, well, it was a 4-hour interview. You know, sometimes you say things. I didn't mean anything by it. No, Lane, you meant something by it. You're trying to really bash Ole Miss and make LSU look holier than thou. We get what you're doing, Lane. But it's like, and you've got the Oxford, Mississippi Police Department is like sending out tweets of how big of a day that's going to be for them. I mean, do you agree with me, Kenton, that Lane Kiffin has made LSU at Ole Miss a bigger revenge game than anything else on this list?
In the words of Michael B. Jordan, when Remick came to the door to ask if he could get into the party, y'all playing? No, but seriously, I'm joking. But in all seriousness, folks, this thing has taken on a life of its own here. That was going to be a massive revenge game regardless, because one team took the other team's coach and all that good stuff.
Sure.
But even beyond that, Dono, let's really get into it for just a second here. How many national championships has Lane Kiffin won?
None.
But you know what Lane Kiffin does have more of than every single college football coach in college football history? Bear Bryant, Nick Saban, Lloyd Carr, Pete Carroll, name all the greats, any greats you could think of. And he has more of these than any other coach. What does Lane Kiffin have more of?
Tweets?
Vanity Fair interviews. Vanity Fair's never interviewed a college football coach. They've never interviewed a college football coach. So, yes, part of it is Lane being Lane, but part of Lane being Lane is the reason he got this interview. It's the reason that he got that interview. So, yes, LSU Ole Miss is going to be the game now, right? Like, everybody's going to be on their best behavior and not chanting things that you would normally hear at a SEC stadium that week, because nobody wants their reputation to be even more sullied than it already is. Somebody made a tweet saying, don't never ask a man his salary, a woman her weight, and why LSU has the name the Tigers. Yeah, and I sat there and said, wait, what?
We both learned about that one this week. I assumed they must have a robust zoo there. And
I thought it was like the same way that the Michigan got the Wolverine type of deal. Like, oh, this is a ferocious animal. It's kind of vaguely around the state type of deal. Or like somebody had, when I found out why they have it, I said, okay. All right. So this is a moment where there will be no bigger revenge game than that. There will be no more hatred and animosity than that, because this is not just hey, our coach left and we're mad. This is our coach left and he talked about how bad we were the entire time we were there. He was there after he left. I hate it here. I love it. I love it. This is the type of stuff rivalry should be made of. Genuine hate. I don't like no rivalry where it's, we got a lot of respect for each other. We respect that they're a good team. No, dog. I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk. I hate the way that you dress. Yeah. That's the type of hatred I want to see in my rivalry.
Yeah, and that one's going to be on September 19th, so we don't have to wait too long in the season to get that one. That's going to be appointment viewing. Again, this is weird. Like, I'm promoting an SEC game, and I'm agreeing with the SEC's commissioner. Gordy, we're coming for your job. We're coming for Locked On SEC, apparently. I don't know what happened here today.
I'm actually all good there. In light of recent events, I'm actually all good over there.
Yeah, I'm all good there as well. We appreciate everyone for making Locked On ACC your first listen. Make sure you follow Kenton at TGIF_Kenton and check him out on Locked On Wolfpack. Follow me at Alex Dono. Check me out on Locked On Canes. And we'll talk to you next time on another episode of Locked On ACC. We are part of the #1 sports podcast network, the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.